Looks like NASCAR is trying to play their own version of Monopoly here. Will it be good for the fans? Will it be bad for the fans long term? Let's talk about some developments with Speedway Motorsports. How's it going, y'all? My name is Eric, and welcome to Out of the Groove. I got this big red truck parked next to me today. You know, red's not really the Out of the Groove colors, kinda, but yeah, I don't know, it is what it is. It'll work, I guess. But we got some business to talk about today. We're not really talking about drivers too much, not really talking about, you know, aero packages, thank God. Although with Pocono coming up this weekend, oof. But no, we're talking about business. We're talking about off-the-track stuff. We have a big story that came out yesterday, which is groundbreaking. We'll start with that. For the first time ever, NASCAR eSports will be broadcast live on cable television this Thursday. So tomorrow, if you're watching this the day it comes out, at 5 p.m. Eastern, NBCSN will be broadcasting live the eNASCAR iRacing All-Star event. It'll be taking place as part of the typical NASCAR America hour that they have on NBCSN weekdays every evening, every afternoon. But this is huge for NASCAR. I've said before that I think iRacing and I think eSports, honestly, are more important to NASCAR than they are to other sports. You know, NBA, they got 2K, NFL, they got Madden, you know, all that type of stuff. And those are great, those are fun to play. But with iRacing, we've seen people who are successful playing iRacing in their homes go out onto a real racetrack somewhere and be good. Skills that people can learn playing iRacing actually translate to the actual sport of NASCAR. So that's why I've always been a huge proponent for things like iRacing, because even though for a video game it's pretty expensive to get a full-on setup like a steering wheel, get a nice PC, get the game, obviously, it's still expensive to invest into iRacing. But compared with the thousands or sometimes tens of thousands of dollars it might cost to, you know, invest in a real race car, a team around you, and go to the local short track and race, you know, compared to that cost, iRacing is relatively affordable if you want to get into actual stock car racing or any racing, because iRacing does a lot of stuff. So to see eNASCAR, to see iRacing get this sort of national recognition that they're going to be on TV, and this isn't just a one-time deal, no. The plan is for the next 4 months, including this one, the last Thursday of each month, NBCSN will air a iRacing event, a NASCAR iRacing event, live. Now, details for the other 3 have not been disclosed yet, but we know the first one is tomorrow, and I'll be tuning in just to see how it goes, to see what it's all about, because like I said, I think it's awesome that iRacing and eNASCAR is getting that kind of recognition, especially. NASCAR's already had, you know, the peak antifreeze iRacing series has kind of been a NASCAR sanctioned series for several years now, and it's grown a ton. So to see that game, to see that whole community get this type of recognition, like, I don't play iRacing, I've never really taken the time or made the big investment to get into iRacing, but I'd love to at some point someday, because I can see the merits of it. It can help groom real racers one day, and if nothing else, it helps teach fans, you know, kind of the ins and outs of the sport, the things that you don't see on TV. You don't always see how much wedge they put into the car. You don't always see what tire pressures people are running. That's the type of stuff you can learn playing a game like iRacing. So I think this is great news for that whole community, and I think this is great news for kind of NASCAR grassroots racing, if you want. Because that's always been my issue with NASCAR, is compared to other major sports, it's just so expensive to get into NASCAR, to find, you know, where I grew up, there was no real racetrack within an hour of where I grew up. And I grew up near a pretty major city, so for me to actually want to get into racing as a kid, not only would I needed to have a ton of money, but also the logistics of it just was going to be really hard. Whereas if I wanted to play basketball, wanted to play soccer, football, you know, my freaking elementary school practically had a team. So I think showcasing iRacing on this grand scale is great for the hopeful growth of NASCAR going forward for future generations. I think this is good news, but yeah, so that came out yesterday. I was excited. Now, there's some more breaking news this morning regarding the Smith family and Speedway Motorsports, one of the 2 major companies that owns most of the tracks NASCAR races at. So the headline this morning is that the Smith family, Bruton Smith and all them, are planning to take the company Speedway Motorsports private. There's a lot of money kind of potentially going back and forth here. I'm not going to get into it too much on this show. 1, because it's kind of confusing. I don't even fully understand all of it. But 2, you know, for the average NASCAR fan, I don't think really any of this matters that much. What fans care about is, how's this going to change NASCAR? How's this going to change the product I see every week? What's going to be different? And I think that's what we need to focus on here. Now, Speedway Motorsports owns a ton of tracks that NASCAR races at, including Bristol Motor Speedway, you know, Texas Motor Speedway, Charlotte, and so on, a bunch of others, Las Vegas, Atlanta. And now this comes at the heels of, you know, earlier this year, ISC, the other big company that owns a bunch of other NASCAR tracks, they're planning to merge with NASCAR. So they will be under the NASCAR umbrella. NASCAR will own ISC. And now it appears SMI is hoping to kind of maybe go down a similar path. Much like how the majority of ISC was owned by the France family, which made it easy for them to kind of take it private and then merge, the majority of SMI is owned by the Smith family, so that makes it easier for them to also take it private. And it sounds to me like they're hoping in the long term that they can also merge with NASCAR the same way ISC has, which would then mean that pretty much, I don't know, 90-95% of the tracks on the NASCAR schedule would now be directly owned by NASCAR itself. It would no longer be owned by, you know, SMI, ISC, and split up like that. It would all be owned by NASCAR. So the way I see it, this possibility could be good for fans. It could also be bad for fans, kind of the same way the ISC deal could be good or bad for fans. Why would SMI merging with NASCAR be good for the fans? Well, it's pretty similar to the ISC deal we've talked about, you know, a couple months ago. When it comes to making like changes to the schedule and everything, if NASCAR has more direct control over the racetracks, they're able to more easily make those decisions. Now, if NASCAR decided that they wanted to get rid of a Texas Motor Speedway date, or they wanted to get rid of a Las Vegas date, or add another Bristol date, we have 3 Bristols or something, now NASCAR only has to discuss that internally. They no longer have to go to SMI and negotiate, and there'd be money, there'd be all these things, all these other factors going into it. They'd have outside investors, you know, because it was a public company that they'd have to, you know, please. If NASCAR now owns all the racetracks, they can just make the final decisions, and they don't really have to negotiate with as many people. It's a much quicker process making those types of decisions. So it gives NASCAR the flexibility to experiment with, you know, changes in the schedule. That's the way it would be good for fans. It would allow NASCAR to more quickly adapt to the changes that NASCAR fans are asking for. More short tracks, NASCAR is now in a position where they can more easily make those changes. However, this could still be bad for the fans, because ultimately with ISC and NASCAR merging, and then if down the line SMI and NASCAR merge, you know, we're giving NASCAR, the sanctioning body that a lot of people have strong opinions about, we're giving NASCAR a lot of power and a lot of control. They don't really have to negotiate with anybody anymore. Whatever they say goes. And now obviously NASCAR is a business, so they're going to try to do what, you know, their customers want. So if the fans want something, NASCAR is going to be incentivized to make that happen. But still, when you give one group of people this much control, you're kind of just at the liberty of whatever decisions they make. If they make a decision you don't like, there's really nobody else that can come in and save you from that decision. It's NASCAR gets the final say. If they want something, they're going to make it happen, and it doesn't really matter what anyone else wants. Really, we'll just have to wait and see what they do with this. Will the schedule change in 2021 or 2022? I know Steve Phelps, I believe, has said recently that maybe the 2021 schedule won't see as many changes as was originally predicted. But going forward, how will things change? I think at that point we will only then know whether or not ISC and SMI merging with NASCAR is good for the sport long term, because right now it's all hypothetical. Hypothetically, it's good for the sport because it means that they can actually make changes to adapt to this changing world that we're living in. But only time will tell to see if they actually make the right decisions with this newfound power. But we'll see. SMI, they're only now announced their plans to go private. They have not yet announced anything that they're going to merge with NASCAR, although it seems very likely that that is their intended goal, that is their plan. But time will tell. We'll see if it actually happens, and we'll see what the terms of that deal comes out to be. But anyway, yeah, personally, I think I am excited about this. There's still talks with Speedway Motorsports and Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway possibly getting NASCAR back there in the future. With them going private and then working with NASCAR perhaps, I don't know if that becomes more realistic that happens, that that track gets a date, gets the renovations it needs and everything. I don't know if this makes it more likely, but it definitely, I think it's promising. I think it's good news this morning to hear that SMI is making these steps and ultimately could one day merge with NASCAR. I think it's good news, but only time will really tell. But anyway, that was kind of just a lot of business jargon and whatnot. I'm not as good at talking about that. I'm better about talking about, you know, whether a wreck was someone's fault or not. Honestly, but yeah, thank you guys for watching. Hope you found this interesting. Hope you enjoyed. If you missed it, I uploaded a video yesterday where I talked about the controversies between Harrison Burton and Paul Menard at New Hampshire this last weekend. Some of the other controversies about penalties that were not called from this last Sunday's race. If you missed that episode, definitely go check that out. But thank you guys for watching. Remember, you can follow me on Twitter, you can follow me on Instagram, all that great stuff. And a big thank you to my Patreon supporters. Michael Harrison at you as the Stars Mentally Defective, Cameron James, John Koblenz, Jason R. Long, Wesley Donaldson, Isaac Dennison, Mika Suzuki, iFantasyRace.com, TheRacingInsiders.com, Matthew Koulopoulos, Pepe Luscious, Jeremy Conkling, Emilio Garcia, Joey DiMicino, the rest of these incredible Patreon supporters. I couldn't do this without the support I get from each and every single one of you, so I greatly appreciate it. Thank you all for going the extra mile to keep this show on the road. Literally, well, I'm in the parking lot, but yeah, literally. I should have one more episode up this week before Pocono Sunday. I'm a little scared about Pocono. I know they made some changes to the track to hopefully make the racing a little more competitive, but I'm a little nervous about Pocono this weekend. This one, I don't know. But anyway, I will still be watching as always, and I hope it's a good race. It really can't be any worse than the one from a couple months ago. But thanks for watching, everyone. I'll see you again later this week. Have a good rest of your Wednesday, everybody.